Hello! Today we are going to start a new series where I give tutorials based on specific civilizations. So I'll go into a little bit of their history along with their strengths and weaknesses and try to cover the best strategies for playing as that civilization. We're starting with the Arcean Republic. The Arcean are one of the oldest races in the galaxy. They gave the plans for a Stargate to the Terran, and the Terran used those plans to come up with the hyperdrive. Well, that led to the entire space race that this game is about. The Arcean were unfortunately conquered by the Drengin at one point in time. They eventually got liberated by the Terran Alliance. This leader, Lord Verga, was a guerrilla warrior who killed a whole bunch of Drengin while they were occupying their homeworld, Arcean. Let's go a little bit into their stats. Their ideology is harmony, which basically means they want to share a single culture and belief. Their abilities are loyalty, which gives you plus 10% loyalty, and your leaders cost 25% less to recruit. That can really come in handy for colonization. They are vigilant, which basically means that star bases all have a little bit of extra area. Also, their effect for every starbase is a little bit like a military starbase. Enemy ships are slowed when they pass through your sector, and if a battle happens near a starbase, you get an attack bonus. Now, their citizens are not ideological, which means you can take this civilization in any direction you want. They do get an approval bonus every time you turn a citizen into a soldier. Their stats, they get +1 in veteran, which means they get 20% experience bonus per battle. And they are +2 in courageous, which means they get a +20% resistance if someone tries to invade one of their core worlds. They are militant, which means they get +20 control points. And they are bad liars, which means if you try to use deception, it's not going to work out as well. All in all, with their emphasis on loyalty and approval bonus for soldiers, and interest in a single culture and belief, they remind me a lot of the US Army. The Arcean get +1 culture point every time you assign a commander to a ship. You can really rack up culture points better as the Arcean. And all of their ships are pretty tough battleships. They don't come with other special features or survey vessels or whatnot. So we've brought in the Bazaar, which you can get to by just clicking this little tent with goods underneath it. And it'll have some of the more basic resources that you can trade in. But it also sometimes has advanced resources, like in this case, Helios or Aurora's Arboretum. They're going to change each time. So whenever you see one of these little numbers over the Galactic Bazaar, that means they've got a new deal on it. I actually bought some precursor nanites a few turns ago. So if you pay attention to the sales, you can get a lot of rare resources that limit you in other places. And if you've got way too much of a resource, you can wait for it to come up again and sell that resource to get yourself money that you can use for other things. Now don't buy and sell, because the sellback price is always half of whatever you paid into it. Other changes to the UI. Right now, the little world thing just goes up to your timeline, report, and stats. And your policies menu also actually goes to your commands menu. So it's a little bit more difficult to get to than it was in the past. But if you know where it's at, the stuff you need is all still there. One of the nice things about the Arcean is, like the Drengin, they don't get a disapproval penalty for being unprotected. So far, I've just been expanding through my home sector that I started in, and I've been colonizing planets pretty quickly and taking out some of the space monsters. You can pretty much get to your medium ships straight away, and if you put them in the same fleet, then they can take out enemy bases better without dying and without losing too much power. And then whenever you get to where a new enemy base is, you can split them up to hunt down the enemies faster, but just join them back together when you want to actually blow up the base. So I expanded into my second sector, and then when I discovered the Zaloxi in the third sector, they immediately declared war on me, almost right after meeting them. I was at war for a few turns, and then I just decided to go ahead and declare the EverWar and the Against the Tide. It makes sense to do them both at the same time, because Against the Tide sends everyone against you. The EverWar divides up their forces because it's everyone against everyone else, so they're attacking each other in addition to you. And you can run both of those turns at the exact same time. Now my military is fairly small. We're ranked number 3 because I really only had the initial ships that you put commanders on. However, I went ahead and rushed to be first in science. And so my very first ship is already a capital ship. And now I'm just going to build a huge fleet of capital ships for the EverWar, where I'll be fighting them off while I'm also colonizing these planets. Well, we've gone a little farther in the EverWar now. I've colonized quite a few of the planets in my second sector. It looks like these Zaloxi are coming up from the south, and the Yor are in the north, but they're pretty small. An important thing to note when you start the EverWar is that everyone, including the minor civilizations, will start attacking you. So I had all of my ships, after they're built, set to go to the border so that I can assemble units from there. And I did not realize that the minor races would attack me. So those Katav sent a little fleet right around here, and all of my ships that were getting built were just getting destroyed. And it took me a long time to get a unit over there. So I finally assembled a force to take out one of the minor civilizations, and they're heading up to this one. It'll be a while before they get there. Thankfully, they're out of the way. I have a whole bunch of capital ships and transports being built. But what I actually have in the game so far is relatively small. I'm still taking out space monsters with my medium ships that you get with the commander. I have one of the big ships heading over here to take out a bunch of precursors. In this version of the game, 6.5, they're making the pirates, space monsters, and precursors build quite a few more enemies than they did in the past. Now, I've got another ship that's one of the large commander ships out here, and he is just running interference. I'm destroying the defense on some of the planets. I'm not taking them over, because they've got a core world nearby and they'll just get taken back. But I'm going ahead and destroying a lot of the enemy's opportunity to do much of anything. And pretty soon, capital ships that I set in motion a few turns ago will be there. And I've already got a few transports ready to go. I plan on attacking the Zalaxi first. I actually just got my first capital ship with a transport fleet and a carrier with 2 caretakers over here. And I'm going to go ahead and start invading their world. Looks like this one is easier to take over than some of the others because they just colonized this. I'm going to send the bulk of my force south to take out the Zalaxi because they're the biggest threat. And since the Yor are also in my world, I'm going to knock them out, but they're a secondary priority. And somewhere around here, probably right here or here, are the Drengin. I'd like to take out the Drengin and hopefully not fight the Altarian by the end of the EverWar. I put most of my small commander ships into groups with survey vessels. So every time you survey, even if you don't fight, whatever military ship you had with that survey vessel gets an upgrade. There aren't enough ideology points. Like in previous versions of the game, every time I surveyed something, I would get a choice, and it was very, very easy to get up to 9 liberty ideologies. You can get that private ownership. But in this version, liberty just isn't coming up very often. Another thing I have noticed is that in this game, they say Arcean give an approval bonus for changing their occupation to soldiers. But when that happens, approval actually goes down, not up. We are 88 turns into the EverWar, and I've been making some serious ground. I've had to hold some of my forces back in reserve because the Zalaxi are sending a lot of transports up, and they go over around here, sometimes even into here. They just go past my ships, and then I have to double back to knock them out. It's usually not that much of a problem because it's taking like 12 turns to conquer a planet, so I can get other ships over there in time. They're also sending a lot of unprotected colony ships that are colonizing these worlds, but I'm going to take them right back from them anyway, so I just think of them as my colony ships. I've got a whole bunch of my capital ships built already. I'm assembling some mega fleets over in the objective rally point. So this one right here has all 3 of the capital ships and 1 of the carriers and a transport and 2 caretakers. And that's still not even all the logistics that are available. But it's enough that it's going to take down anything that the Zalaxi throw at me. So I'll just put together a few mega fleets like this and go planet by planet taking things over. A lot of times if I'm trying to take a huge sector, sometimes I'll just take a core world and then let the core world capture the rest of the worlds by culture points so I can move faster. We're about halfway through the EverWar, and I sent my scouts out again. When I first met the Zalaxi, they declared war on me, and I pulled my scouts back because they were killing them. The interesting thing about the EverWar with everyone against everyone is you get a lot of attrition. So halfway through the EverWar, you can start to move a lot more freely. I mean, people are still mad, but most of their fleets are already dead, so you're just not going to encounter as much resistance. Well, I just about brought the war to the Zalaxi shore when peace broke out. Apparently, there's a little bug in the system where the EverWar is still going on, but there's an automatic peace treaty after the Against the Tides, and so I'm actually at peace during the EverWar. Previous versions of the game weren't like that. But so what I did during that peace is went ahead and explored, and unfortunately my scouts got killed by a whole bunch of pirates and space monsters because the Zalaxi don't kill off the pirates and space monsters. I managed to discover a new area that I can get involved with, and I met the Altarian, which are the one species I really want to befriend in this game. And I'm going to wipe out the Drengin, since they took over our homeworld in previous versions of the game. But right now I'm on a mandatory peace with everyone, so I'm mostly scouting out new terrain. I've been building a lot of star bases. I have tons of money now, so I don't really have to worry about much. I'm positioning my troops so that they'll be ready for war as soon as it starts. So these guys are exploring for space monsters, but they're all set up in heavy units so that as soon as the war breaks out, they'll be ready to start again. And I can just clear out the monsters while I'm doing that. I'm assembling new diversified units over here. I kind of have them stacked together so I can put them in the order I want. I'm not actually going to declare war on any of them. I'm going to wait for them to do it on me. But it doesn't seem like it's going to take much work for another war to break out as soon as this peace treaty is over. I found a little glitch in the game, which is very convenient. If you've already completed the quest for one of the minor civilizations, version 0.65 doesn't have the reward system go away. So you can just click on it, get a culture point, and then if you need more, click on it again, and you can keep racking up culture points indefinitely on this system. So that's not going to last for long, but it gave me the opportunity to explore a lot of things that I don't normally purchase. Even though I can purchase everything now, there are actually a few things that I don't want. Like 15% growth. My population is already getting so large, I don't know what to do with them. I'm just building like ships to get them off the planet that I won't even be able to use. Well, the mandatory peace period is over. No one declared war on me, but I went ahead and declared war on the Drengin because they took over the Arcean Homeworld in previous versions of the game, so I figured it was fitting to take over their homeworld. Also, the Altarian were at war with them, and I'm trying to win that. But as far as how the game's going to go overall, it looks like my cultural victory is ramping up the fastest. I've been building star bases basically everywhere, and they've been taking over all kinds of territory. I've basically taken over all of the your territory already. It'll just be a slow process of handing that over. Okay, it looks like I wound up winning an Ascension Victory. I had been building star bases everywhere, and I always leveled up the precursor relic stuff as much as possible. I was actually just trying to get the relics, and the Ascension crystals were right next to them, so sometimes I picked them up too. I didn't know how close to that victory I was because they don't show your progress in the victory monitor thing right now. Also, when I looked at the top to see how many Ascension crystals, I couldn't find them.
Thank you for watching another episode of SS Street Fighter. Be sure to leave a like and a comment on the YouTube discussion board because that greatly increases my discoverability on the platform. Also, subscribe and click notifications. If you're a Galactic Civilizations fan, you're going to be getting a lot of good content over the course of the next year. I want to send a thank you to my Patreon subscribers, Charles and Nancy. And if you're feeling generous, a link to my Patreon is in the description below.